These defendants have been charged not for what they said, but for what they did. They all joined an agreement, a conspiracy, to interfere with lawful immigration enforcement operations.
U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen announcing charges against 15 people. They are accused of coordinating efforts to block ICE agents during Operation Metro Surge.
Our Karen Scullin has been following this story all day long. And so, Karen, what played out in court today?
Well, there were 12 defendants that appeared in court today. And first of all, the judges made sure they understood the charges against them. They all said they did. However, some questioned why they were actually considered crimes. One saying, I held meetings, that's a crime. Obviously, kind of a flipped sort of way. Now, the judge decided there would be no detention, even though prosecutors asked for it. There would be no detention, so all the defendants were released with conditions. They cannot protest or join a protest on any federal property. And also, they cannot speak to one another. They can't speak to the co-defendants except for two that were in fact roommates. So that was kind of interesting. Now, 12 defendants appeared today. One of them, kind of interesting too, is a chair professor at Minneapolis-St, the chair of religious studies, teaching Buddhism and other faiths. And then another one, Kyle Wagner, he did not appear. And he is one that's part of this indictment that had some, I would say, what prosecutors considered more violent tendencies in these videos, asking people to come out and, in fact, commit to violence against federal agents. He is either in custody or one of the two defendants that are still on the run. So 15 are charged, 12 appeared today in court.
Karen, quickly for us, if you can, the main charges you laid out, conspiracy to impede or injure federal officers, how is that laid out in the indictment?
Right. This is important. Basically, they're saying that this was all a big coordinated effort between these 15 defendants and others, but that they were all part of Antifa, which is kind of a belief system, but that they were local groups that coordinated with each other through text messages, through signal chat, through different kinds of ways. And then they would break up into smaller groups, have rapid response teams and things like that. And so they would coordinate these efforts to appear and do hard blockades or soft blockades. Hard blockades were the people that agreed to be maybe more violent, according to the indictment, or to commit acts of violence, or to put physical objects in front of the federal officers so they could not carry out their duties, or in some case injure the federal officers. And then there were the soft blockades, were those who actually made like plastic shields and things so the federal agents couldn't get through and couldn't get past them. So it's a very coordinated effort under the umbrella of conspiracy.
And Karen, we've seen a lot of these cases where people are accused of impeding these federal agents. So what's the difference between this case and previous cases in which these charges were lodged against protesters and then some ultimately dismissed?
Right, and my colleague's going to talk about that in just a little bit. But the difference between these past cases and this case are really that the past cases are more like individual cases, a kind of one-offs. This person did that, that person did that, and many of those cases were in fact dropped. This case is a much bigger case because it involves multiple defendants in one case under this umbrella of conspiracy. So it has a much bigger impact because it was a coordinated effort, they say, to create dangerous conditions, to create violence in some cases, and to really impede the federal officers' duties to their immigration efforts. So a very different case when you look at them kind of side by side, guys.
All right, Karen, thank you for laying that out for us. We appreciate it. And as you mentioned, we will have more on this from Nathan coming up as well.